You think sleep is rest. You think that when you close your eyes and drift off, your brain finally gets a break, that everything goes quiet, that your body and mind just sort of pause, recharge, and wake up fresh. That is a beautiful idea. It is also completely wrong. What actually happens inside your brain the moment you lose consciousness is so bizarre, so relentless, and honestly so disgusting that most people would struggle to believe it if the science wasn't sitting right there in peer-reviewed journals waiting to be read. Your brain does not rest when you sleep. It goes to work. And the things it does while you are unconscious and completely unaware would make your waking self deeply uncomfortable. Tonight, when you close your eyes, all of this will be happening inside your skull. You just won't know about it. Until now. Stay with me through number 4. That one is the one that changes how you think about sleep forever. And if you make it to number 2, you will never look at your pillow the same way again. Let's get into it. Number 7. Your brain physically floods itself with sewage water and calls it cleaning. Let's start with something that sounds like it came out of a science fiction horror film, but is completely, verifiably real. The moment you fall asleep, your brain initiates a full-scale industrial cleaning operation. And the way it cleans itself is genuinely disturbing. Your brain cells, the neurons you have been using all day to think and talk and scroll and stress, they physically shrink. Not metaphorically, literally. They reduce in size by approximately 60%. Scientists at the University of Rochester confirmed this using live imaging in 2013. The reason your neurons shrink is to create space. Space for what? For your brain to be flooded. Cerebrospinal fluid, a clear liquid that surrounds your brain and spinal cord, rushes through the newly created gaps between your shrunken neurons like a high-pressure hose blasting through a sewer system. This fluid pushes out toxic waste proteins, the most well-known being beta amyloid, that accumulate in your brain tissue throughout the day simply as a byproduct of your neurons doing their jobs. If you do not sleep, this waste does not get cleared. It builds up. The glymphatic system, which is the name for this brain sewage network, is almost entirely inactive while you are awake. It only runs on the night shift. So when you wake up feeling foggy and slow after a bad night, that is not just tiredness. That is your brain operating with a partially full garbage bin. Number 6. Your brain paralyzes your entire body and occasionally forgets to undo it. Every single night something happens to you that, if it occurred during waking hours, would send you directly to the emergency room. Your brain deliberately paralyzes your body. During REM sleep, your brainstem sends a specific chemical signal to your spinal cord that severs the connection between your brain and your voluntary muscles. This is called rematonia, and it exists for an excellent reason. Without it, you would physically act out every dream you have. If you dream about running, you run. If you dream about punching, you punch. The people sharing your bed would be in genuine danger every night. Sometimes you regain consciousness before the paralysis has lifted. Your eyes are open. You can hear the room. You are completely mentally awake, but you cannot move a single voluntary muscle, not a finger, not your jaw, nothing. This is sleep paralysis. And because your brain is still partially in dream state while this is happening, it frequently generates hallucinations. The most commonly reported one across cultures and centuries is a dark figure sitting on your chest, pressing down. In medieval Europe, they called it the Old Hag. In Japan, it is called Kanashibari. In Newfoundland, the Old Hag. In West Africa, the devil on your back. Every culture, every era, same hallucination. Because the same glitch produces the same result every time. Number 5. Your brain rewrites your memories while you sleep, and not always accurately. You had a conversation today. You remember it one way, but by the time you wake up tomorrow, the memory your brain stored might not be quite the same as the one you went to sleep with. During sleep, your brain runs a process called memory consolidation. The hippocampus transfers the day's experiences into long-term storage in the cortex, but this is not a simple copy-paste operation. It is an edited transfer. Your brain does not store everything equally. It prioritizes emotionally significant events. It strengthens memories that connect to things you already know. And it quietly discards or weakens memories that it deems low priority. This is why you can forget most of Tuesday by Wednesday morning. Research from the University of California has shown that during this consolidation process, memories are briefly reactivated in a malleable state before being restored. And in that window, they can be slightly altered. Context shifts, emotional tone changes. Details blur or intensify. Your brain is not a camera. It is an editor. and it does its editing while you sleep, without your knowledge or consent. Every morning you wake up with a version of your past that has been curated, compressed, and in small but measurable ways, changed. Number 4, your brain manufactures hallucinations every night and experiences them as completely real. This is the one. Every single night, without exception, your brain generates a fully immersive, multisensory hallucination that you experience as real while it is happening. It involves people who are not there, places that do not exist, conversations that never occurred, and physical sensations your body never actually felt. You accept all of it as reality without question. And then you wake up and call it a dream, which somehow makes it sound harmless and normal. During REM sleep, your visual cortex is almost as active as it is when your eyes are open and you are looking at actual things. Your auditory cortex is processing sounds that are not there. Your amygdala, the emotional brain, is firing intensely. The part of your brain responsible for reality testing, the prefrontal cortex, is significantly suppressed. This is why you do not realize you are dreaming while it is happening. The part of your brain that would normally say, "Wait, this does not make sense," is basically offline. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker has described dreaming as a form of overnight therapy, where your brain replays emotionally charged memories in a neurochemical environment stripped of the stress hormone norepinephrine, allowing you to process difficult experiences without the full emotional weight. But it is still a hallucination, a very convincing, very regular, completely involuntary hallucination. And if you think about how aggressively society pathologizes hallucinations in waking life, the fact that we all just silently accept that our brains do this every single night without comment is genuinely remarkable. Number 3, your brain triggers random full-body muscle spasms specifically designed to jolt you awake for no clear reason. You are drifting off. The warmth is there, the heaviness in your limbs, the blurring of thoughts. You are right at the edge of sleep, and then your entire body violently jerks, and you are suddenly wide awake with your heart pounding and no idea what just happened. That is called a hypnic jerk, and almost everyone experiences them. The most popular explanation for decades was that it was a vestigial reflex from our primate ancestors, the brain misinterpreting the relaxation of sleep onset as the body falling from a tree and triggering a grab reflex to catch a branch that was never there. What researchers now understand is that as you transition from wakefulness to sleep, your brain does not make a clean handoff. It stutters. The motor system and the arousal system sometimes fire in a brief, uncoordinated burst right at the threshold. Your brain, in other words, is so dysregulated by modern life that it literally cannot fall asleep smoothly. It trips over the threshold, it stumbles into unconsciousness, and it takes you with it violently before catching itself and letting you drop. Number 2, your brain generates electrical storms that it uses to actively destroy memories you no longer need. During deep, slow-wave sleep, if you were able to watch your brain's electrical activity on a monitor, you would see something that looks less like rest and more like a controlled detonation. Enormous synchronized waves of electrical activity sweep across your cortex in rhythmic pulses called slow oscillations. These are happening every night, and what they are doing is not passive. Research from the University of Wisconsin has shown that during slow-wave sleep, your brain is actively pruning synapses, the connections between neurons that were either unused or redundant. This process, called synaptic homeostasis, is your brain's way of preventing information overload. During the day, your brain forms new connections constantly in response to every experience. If those connections just kept accumulating, your brain would eventually become too noisy to function. Nothing would stand out because everything would be equally strong. So while you sleep, the electrical storms sweep through and deliberately weaken the connections that were not reinforced enough to keep. The useful, important, frequently activated connections survive. The rest get trimmed. You wake up with a brain that is literally structurally different from the one you went to sleep with. Connections that existed 12 hours ago no longer exist. Your sleeping brain decided they were not worth keeping and deleted them. This is happening every night without your input, without your awareness, and without your consent. Number 1, your brain essentially rehearses death every time you sleep and uses the practice to keep you alive. Here is the one that changes how you think about sleep permanently. Sleep researchers have known for decades that during the transition into sleep and during certain stages of deep sleep, the brain runs what can only be described as a system shutdown sequence. Your core body temperature drops. Your heart rate slows to its lowest point of the day. Your blood pressure falls. Your breathing becomes slow and shallow. Your stress hormones bottom out. Your brain's electrical activity shifts to its most suppressed state outside of anesthesia. From a purely physiological standpoint, the state of deep sleep is closer to the state of dying than to any other state you experience in ordinary life. Your brain is not just resting, it is practicing a controlled version of the most extreme physiological state available to a living body. And it does this because the processes that happen in that deeply suppressed state, the glymphatic flush, the memory consolidation, the synaptic pruning, none of them can happen at full waking arousal. Every time you sacrifice sleep, scroll for an extra hour, stay up to finish one more episode, you are not just skipping rest, you are canceling the maintenance cycle. The toxic proteins stay in the neural tissue a little longer. The emotional memories stay raw a little longer. The synapses that should have been pruned stay cluttered a little longer. The repair that should have happened in your body quietly does not happen. The consequences do not show up the next morning as anything obvious. They accumulate slowly over months and years, and by the time they are measurable, a significant amount of the damage is already done. Your brain rehearses death every night not because it is morbid, but because that is the only state deep enough for the work it needs to do. The question is whether you are giving it the time and conditions to do it. Most people are not. Most people are lying in bed scrolling until 11:45 and then wondering why their brain feels like wet cement by Thursday afternoon. Now you know why. And now you also know what is actually happening inside your skull while you sleep. It is not peaceful. It is not quiet. It is a full-scale biological operation running at maximum intensity in a body that looks completely still. The stillness is the disguise. The work is relentless. So the next time someone tells you sleep is for the weak, you can tell them exactly what their brain is currently failing to do. Drop in the comments which one of these genuinely disturbed you the most. I want to know. And if someone you know still thinks sleep is wasted time, send this to them tonight, before they stay up too late again.